Just when we thought the drama was contained to the political world, we are now hearing directly from inside the Combmes family. And their new legal strategy, it's so bold, so audacious, it might just break the entire legal system. What is going on, my extra hot topic crew? And welcome back to your number one source for the stories that are just too wild to be true, but somehow are. I'm your host. And today we are shifting our focus away from the White House and the podcast studios and going straight to the heart of the matter, the Combs family and their high-powered legal team. We've heard the rumors about a potential Trump pardon. We've heard Megyn Kelly's fiery rebuttal. But now, for the first time, we're hearing from Diddy's own son, Christian Combs, also known as the rapper King Combs. He's opening up about his dad's verdict, and his outlook is, well, you're gonna want to hear it for yourself. And as if that wasn't enough, Diddy's lawyers have just unleashed an absolute barrage of legal motions that are nothing short of breathtaking. They are not just asking for a new trial. They are making an argument so wild it involves the First Amendment and amateur pornography. Yes, you heard that correctly. So grab your snacks, settle in, because this legal roller coaster is about to leave the station, and it has no brakes. All right, so let's start with the family. In the middle of all this legal chaos and political speculation, Diddy's son, the 27-year-old rapper King Combs, just gave an interview to Billboard, and it gives us our first real glimpse into the mindset of the Combs family. When asked how he's feeling after the verdict, where his dad was convicted on 2 federal counts, he said, and I quote, "I feel good. The whole family, we feel good." My first reaction to that was, really? Good? Your dad was just convicted and is awaiting sentencing, and the vibe is good. But then he elaborates, we just, humbly, just waiting for the sentencing and waiting for Pops to come home. We got good expectations. Okay, so good expectations sheds a little more light on it. This isn't denial. It's a statement of unwavering hope and faith in their legal team and perhaps in other potential avenues for freedom that we've been talking about. It's a united front. He makes it a point to say the whole family. And you know what? We saw that during the trial. For 8 long weeks, his siblings, Quincy, Justin, Christian, Chance, Delilah, and Jesse, were right there in the courtroom. And Diddy's mother, Janice Combs, was there standing proudly by her son. Regardless of what you think about the case, you cannot deny that the image they are projecting is one of absolute solidarity. They are a wall of support. King Combs then talks about his new mixtape, Never Stop, and specifically a song called Pick a Side, and he connects it all back to his dad's situation. He says, I think now that the truth is getting out and Pops is on the way home, God willing, I think we just need to stay with positivity, spread love. I just hope all the hate and all the negative stuff is past us and we can just move forward and with just love and good vibes. This is fascinating. He's framing this as a battle of truth versus hate. From his perspective, the truth is what will set his father free, and everything else is just negativity and hate that they need to move past. It's a very optimistic, almost spiritual take on a federal conviction. And that line, Pops is on the way home, shows you just how confident they are that this is not the end of the story. And you know what? It turns out that confidence isn't just wishful thinking. It's backed by an absolute legal onslaught from his defense team. While King Combs is talking about good vibes, his dad's lawyers are in the trenches, fighting with everything they've got. They just filed a flurry of motions that are some of the most audacious legal arguments I've ever heard. Legal move number 1, the motion for release. First, they're trying to get him out of jail before his sentencing in October. Their argument is just wild. They say, and I'm quoting the filing here, Sean Combs should not be in jail for this conduct. In fact, he may be the only person currently in a United States jail for being any sort of John, and certainly the only person in jail for hiring adult male escorts for him and his girlfriend when he did not even have sex with the escort himself. Let's unpack that. They are essentially arguing that he is the victim of selective and unprecedented prosecution. The only person in jail for being a John is a bold claim. They are painting him as a scapegoat, someone being made an example of, and portraying the crime itself as something minor that doesn't warrant being locked up in a federal facility. It's a gutsy move to downplay the conviction like that. But the prosecution, as you can imagine, is having absolutely none of it. They fired back immediately, arguing that Diddy's conviction carries a mandatory requirement for him to stay in jail. They claim he's unable to prove the special circumstances needed for release. And then they drop this hammer of a quote. The defendant's extensive history of violence and his continued attempt to minimize his recent violent conduct demonstrates his dangerousness and that he's not amenable to supervision. Do you see the battle lines here? The defense says he's a harmless guy being unfairly punished. The prosecution says he's a dangerous individual with a history of violence who can't be trusted on the outside. It's a total clash of narratives. Legal move number 2, the motion to vacate or grant a new trial. This is the main event, folks. This is the legal Hail Mary. They are trying to get the entire conviction thrown out, and their arguments. My jaw is on the floor. They filed a massive 62-page motion, and it's a doozy. Their main argument is that the Mann Act, the law he was convicted under, is unconstitutional as it was applied to him. They argue that the law is flawed because it doesn't require the prosecution to prove there was any coercion, threats, or fraud involved. They claim the government told the jury it had to convict so long as Mr. Combs arranged for a long-time girlfriend or a paid male escort or entertainer to travel across state lines to get together and have sex. They're basically saying the bar for conviction was set so low that any reasonable person could have been found guilty. And that's not what the law was originally intended for. But then, they make the argument that has everyone talking. They argue that the freak-offs were protected by the First Amendment. I am not making this up. The filing says the freak-offs and hotel nights were performances that he or his girlfriends typically videotaped so they could watch them later. In other words, he was producing amateur pornography for later private viewing. This is protected First Amendment conduct that no substantial government interest justifies prohibiting, since the films depicted adults voluntarily engaging in consensual activity. I need to take a breath. They are arguing that these encounters were not crimes, but were, in fact, artistic performances. They are framing Diddy not as a John, but as a film producer creating amateur adult content for his own private collection, which they say is protected free speech. This is one of the most creative legal arguments I have ever encountered in my life. It is absolutely audacious. It's like getting a speeding ticket and arguing you were conducting a physics experiment on velocity. It's just next level stuff. And they didn't stop there. They also argued that what he did doesn't even meet the definition of prostitution in many places. They claim in the 2000s, multiple state courts have held that paying for voyeurism to watch other people have sex is not prostitution. So they're attacking this from every conceivable angle. It's unconstitutional, it's protected free speech, and it's not even the crime they say it is. This is a full court press. While the family preaches positivity, the lawyers are engaged in a multi-front legal war. And hanging over all of this like a giant question mark is the specter of that potential presidential pardon from Donald Trump. It's the ultimate wild card. If all these legal maneuvers fail, is that plan C? Let's not forget what's at stake here. His sentencing is set for October. The conviction on 2 counts of violating the Mann Act could land him a maximum sentence of 20 years in prison, 10 years for each count. So when King Combs talks about good expectations, you now see why. They're fighting this with everything they have, on every front imaginable. And that, my friends, is where we are. In the middle of a legal tornado, we have the family's unwavering hope, a prosecution determined to see him serve time, and a defense team making some of the most inventive and shocking arguments you will ever hear. It is an absolute saga. Thank you so much for joining me for this deep dive on Extra Hot Topic. I need to know what you think. What do you make of King Combs' comments? And what about this First Amendment legal strategy? Is it brilliant or is it bonkers? Let me know everything in the comments below. And if you want to stay on top of this story that gets crazier by the day, do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring that notification bell so you never miss an update. Until next time, stay fired.